What's up, guys? You may have seen it sneak into some of my other videos, but the big news for the channel right now is this RV behind me. So I wanted to make this video for anybody that is either shopping for RVs and wants to know the pros and cons of this model, or if you already own the Outlaw 29H and are interested in modifying things. I'll show you kind of the things that I've done to it and the improvements that I would recommend. I'll give you the heads up, I have zero experience with RVs. This is my first one. I haven't even camped in like a family RV or anything since I was probably 4 years old. So just keep that in mind. You can take my advice with a grain of salt if you want. As I go through this video itself is going to be a very top level brief, just walk through and review. I'm going to put a little card up here in the top right corner, so keep an eye out for those for any videos that will kind of branch off of this one and go into more detail about any specific feature or modification that I've done. When I was shopping for RVs, I saw online that people recommend when you buy a brand new RV, come up with a quote list of 40, and that is find at least 40 things wrong with it before you take it back to the dealer to get warranty work done. They kind of use the customer, the final end user, as part of their quality control system, I guess. So this company is no different. From what I was reading online, it's just a common thing. This is a Class C RV based on the E450, the Ford E450 Super Duty chassis. That is the 6.8 liter V10 Triton engine, and I believe it's somewhere around 310 horsepower, something like that. Enough power to get up this hill, so that's good, but definitely feels underpowered sometimes. Leaves some room to be desired for. I think I was averaging somewhere around 10 miles to the gallon, which from what I'm reading online is about average to decent. I think most people get around 8 or 9, so 10's doing pretty well. I've done some improvements and some modifications to monitor and improve that the gas mileage and power, so I'll probably put a bubble up above my head for that. Refrigerator service access. You can see there's a GFCI plug right here. One thing I've noticed, and I asked Thor for the wiring diagrams for everything, just so I can get an idea for what's connected to the inverter and what's not, and what's on different circuit breakers and stuff like that. This plug is not on the inverter, which means if you aren't plugged in and aren't running the generator, you have to use propane for the fridge. Now, I've also seen online that people don't recommend driving with any propane appliances on, so that's a slight issue. I may eventually wire this into the inverter just so I can just use the battery power while we're driving, stuff like that. One thing I noticed about this, and I did not get this one in my list of 40 to fix, so I may have to do that eventually, but it's got cracks here, here, and here. I'm guessing they just kind of over tightened this thing down and snapped it a little bit. Freshwater gravity fill. This is for filling the freshwater tank. It's got a little vent right here that will let air flow in while you're filling it up, and then once it's full, water will flow out of that to let you know. You also notice I put some labels all around everywhere. Since this is my first RV, I thought it would be useful to have everything labeled. And it also helps if anybody borrows this unit, or if I need Sarah to do something for me, I can just tell her to look for this label. Here we have the exhaust for the heating system for the furnace. You don't want to spray water straight up into there. Water raining or whatever is fine, but don't spray water up into there apparently. And eventually I want to get something that can hang off of this and just cover this up, so that when it's stored for the winter or whatever, we don't have any animals or insects making their home in there. We've got some outlets out here. I believe this is on a GFCI circuit as well. Don't know for sure though, I'd have to check that one. These are not hooked up to the inverter, so the generator or electricity must be plugged in to use these outlets. This is a small storage compartment. very small. You'll see it goes back to there. So, and you'll see in a lot of these storage compartments, we've got some electric boxes up here. And all these are the sensors for the auto leveling system that we'll talk about later. So you just gotta be careful whenever you're shoving things into storage that you don't break any of the connectors off of this or snap any wires or anything like that. One thing on my list of 40 was this seal, this gasket around the outside of the storage containers. A couple of them, they just applied it kind of badly, I guess, and it was stuck to this side and then just stretched across and stuck here. It was just kind of all over the place. So Camping World did an awesome job with that and really cleaned things up quite a bit for me. This is the freshwater drain. You can also use it for filling dog bowls or whatever, but it just is the bottom of the freshwater tank for draining out for winterizing and stuff like that. We've got here 2 speakers on either side of the TV, and here's the TV on the outside. Now, one thing I'll note about this, and I'm sure I'm going to make a video eventually explaining how I fixed all this, but the way these speakers are hooked up means that whatever you're watching on the TV cannot be directly played out of these speakers. The TV is on its own thing and the speakers are on a separate thing. So I'm sure I'll make a video on how to fix that eventually, but if you wanted to watch a football game out here for some tailgating, you cannot just play the TV audio out of these speakers nice and loud. You're limited to the unfortunate speakers that are built into the TV. So also, this TV is not on any sort of pivot mount. It's mounted hard into the back wall. Now, one quick and easy mod that I want to point out that doesn't really deserve a separate video or anything, but I did want to just throw it into this one, is basically 2 of the big things you have to worry about with wheels when you're driving down the road. One of them is lack of tire pressure, and so eventually I'm going to get a tire pressure monitor system so I can keep an eye on that. Right now I just check all the tire pressures before I drive anywhere, but it'd be nice to kind of speed that process up. So the second one is wheel torque. Now, because it's got these hubcaps on it, or as they call them, wheel simulators, you can't really just check wheel torque. These are not actual lug nuts. These are just decorative things on the hubcap. So originally when I got this, I actually went around and checked all the torques on all the lug nuts, but the only way to do that is to get these wheel simulators off. So basically you stick a screwdriver in back behind this, and you just pry it and pry it and pry it all around the outside edge until you can get your hand on here and pop the whole thing off. Now, once it's off, you'll see these green things that I have here, and I actually just installed these. These are called, I think they're either called Lug Nut Pointers or Torque Pointers or something like that, but I see these on all of the Pittsburgh area transit buses around the city, and basically you just, once you have all the torques manually set with a torque wrench, you stick these little pointers on it and make them all point in a circle. And that way, if before you go for a road trip, you just look at all the wheels, and if you see this one pointed this way, you know that something's wrong. That one is obviously loosened up a little bit and needs retightened before you drive anywhere. Untorqued lug nuts are one of the big concerns out on the road, because a wheel falling off can cause a lot of damage and a big insurance claim, and possibly some injuries or death to someone. So you definitely want to, this is one thing I highly recommend, is just keep all of the wheel simulators off, install all these torque pointers, and before you drive anywhere, just do a quick once over around the outside of the unit and check that they're all pointed in a circle. Here's the largest storage compartment. I believe this is the largest, for just general stuff. You can see it's also not very big. This is the back of it right here. It's about the perfect size for these folding chairs. You can see here's one of the bags for one of the long folding chairs, and it goes here to here. So you can fit some about 4 You can probably fit more than that. I put 4 folding chairs in there and this this mat that I have. Now, this mat did not come with the camper. This was actually a Christmas present from my parents, but I think the curvy lines flow really well with the camper, so I'm excited about that. That's not part of it, but I can fit that whole thing in the storage compartment with 4 of these chairs. So that's about all you can fit into there. Aside from that, it's about maxed out. Now, while we're over here, we'll also look at this awning. So this is an electric awning, and Thor has a system they call Rapid Camp that lets you control things from a remote control. I'll probably make a separate video for that, so look for the bubble in the top right corner. But for now, I will show you that the awning can be controlled by this remote. So this is really useful if there's any trees outside the camper or something like that. You can go around and make sure the slide's not running into any branches, make sure the awning's not getting stuck on anything. It has these things right here are just, you can just grab these for if rain's getting built up and you need to pivot one side of it down lower than the other. Super easy, just pull those down and then stick them back up once you're done. So that's a nice little feature. It's got a LED strip right across the top here. I wish this LED I saw on some other RVs, the LEDs were on this side, and so it would kind of shine against the camper, and that just made more sense to me. I don't know why, but I would have preferred that this strip was on the other side. Unfortunately, that's going to be a hard thing to move based on how this is all set up, but maybe eventually, we'll see.